Hi, everybody. Welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, the worst of 2024 episode. We're here. We're recording it. It's going to happen.
It's actually happening.
Hard to believe. It's the one of the few times where I'm the one holding us up. Yeah. Actually, neither one of us hold us up. We put out something on every Saturday for 200 and whatever, 40-something Saturdays. So we're going to talk about the worst things of 2024. We're sharing a document that's how many pages?
27.
27-page document.
I want to say the best that was probably around that. Actually, I'm kind of curious.
Probably.
I'll try to find it.
So we're combining all rosters again this year, right? I think that's a practice
that's
we've
just
done.
Kind of the way we've...
Because you don't watch a ton of NXT?
I don't watch it like I used to, right?
You're there for Fraxium and some of the pay-per-views and stuff sometimes.
Yeah, I keep tabs on everything,
And you've gone with corresponding categories in like completely?
Pretty much everything, yeah. 29 for the best of.
So it'll mirror our best of. So there's a lot of awards.
We try our best, right? There's some discrepancies, I'm sure, but...
Yeah. And then you always like to start out with your honorary awards. It says, read the official note there. What does it say?
Just to be mean.
Jack's unofficial honorary awards, just to be mean speed round.
That's how it started, and I think I did it for the best of too. I don't remember if I did it last year or not.
And so I haven't seen, the only ones I can see are the like 5 or 6 that are on my screen. Haven't scrolled down and read any.
Right,
so
yeah.
Do you want to get into that now?
We can run through it. Yeah.
Do it. Go ahead.
And you chime in as you see fit.
I will.
My pick for worst ring gear was Ren Sinclair with the half pants. Honorable mention to Mercedes Moné at Holiday Bash, which I think was when she had like the furry Melina boots.
Oh yeah.
And Kofi when he was wearing like shorts.
You always commented on Ren Sinclair's half.
It's the worst thing that people do because she did it. I think Ruby Riott used to do it. Zack Ryder had it for a while.
That's right.
Like a bunch of people done it.
Doesn't horrible. Jada Parker kind of do it?
Yeah, nah.
Or is hers an additional?
Like, it's not.
I can't remember.
I feel like it's like an additional thing. Biggest ring gear regression, which is Jericho bringing back the trunks, which nobody wanted to see.
These are the ones that I won't remember very much.
That's horrible. Well, because he's been wearing trunks for like ever since he started learning Tree.
Oh, okay.
Like, because he wasn't before. Remember?
Okay.
He was doing Lionheart.
Yeah.
Because remember there was a whole NDA thing, and so then he started doing the Lionheart thing so that people wouldn't have to sing along to Judas because they weren't going to.
Right.
And so he was still wearing tights, and then when he switched to Learning Tree, went to trunks, and also his new Fozzy track.
I think of short hair Jericho with
That's
Jericho.
Fine, but he's also older and worse looking now.
That was when he started developing that whole like he just comes back completely redefined and whatever.
I just saw a clip of him doing the list again, and
that was awesome.
That was a good time.
I don't want to say peak Jericho because he was my favorite for many years.
One of his high points, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Worst belt of the year, I couldn't pick, so I picked every belt in NWA Exodus Pro. That's EC3's branch.
Okay, I may have to Google image that.
If I had to pick one, look up the NWA Midwest Heavyweight title is my worst one.
Okay, you go ahead and talk.
I think it's the worst.
I'll do that.
Of the bunch. And if you have time, just look up. There's also women's and tag belts there. They're all pretty horrible. They look so stupid and nonsensical, but like that they only came from EC3. You know?
Yeah.
Like just the way that they're structured is not proper, and it's just like it's so EC3 to me. World's Worst Rectangle is the New Japan TV title. I hate that belt with a burning passion, and I will never stop.
Oh.
Yeah. Wait, which one are you looking at? The main belt? It's like it looks like
the Midwest.
It looks like a misshapen coin.
It's
like,
very EC3.
Right? And then like if you look at like the tag belts or whatever, it's so like
that is
on
brand.
Really bad.
Yeah, it's not good.
I call this the WCW 2000 award, the Run-In Fest at Mania.
Oh
Night 2. In the main event, the Bloodline Rules. Worst title reign.
Yes.
Jericho is FTW champion, which I kind of forgot about until now.
Yes, it was not our favorite.
Honorable mention to Ego as NXT champion, just because they just butchered him so horribly.
He's recovering, thankfully. But yes,
but they just butchered him so bad.
They didn't do him any favors.
Worst technological innovation, the Ref Cam. The Red Light, Green Light award goes to Daniel Garcia.
I love the Ref Cam. They get no good footage out of it.
It's horrible.
Like they always cut to it like twice.
I told you it would have been cool when Charles Robinson was running down the ramp at Chamber, but that would be it.
They like cut to it twice, realize it sucks, and then you
because they trialed it at SummerSlam, I think it was, and it was just horrible. Worst finisher, Mercedes Moné's Moneymaker. That's just, it never looks good.
It does not.
At best, it looks passable.
And now when she combines it with the submission, it's better.
But then it's not the finisher. It's almost like Roman Reigns Superman punch setting up a
It is.
spear,
That's
right?
what it is.
Which is fine, but
Just
like as a
doesn't look
finisher,
good.
it's horrible.
Like in theory, sounds cool.
Gory bomb into like a DDT sounds cool, but like it
Not.
just
It's
maybe
not.
for someone more
Better.
strong. Yeah. But
Yes,
like,
she's not a huge woman.
no.
Give it to like Zarya or something. It might
yeah,
look
maybe,
sweet.
right?
Or Megan Bain.
Yeah. Worst babyface, I picked CM Punk because he's not a babyface. Honorable mention, shout out to Cody though.
He's never
Also
a baby
not a
face.
babyface.
I would agree with those.
Worst heel, Chris Jericho, because I do hate him, but I want him to go away.
Yeah, it's for the wrong reasons.
Worst talk show, TV time with Chris Jericho.
Wow.
Worst return, Hardy Boys to TNA, because why? Worst entrance one-off, Jericho sings the theme song again. Biggest disappointment of the year, the AEW tag title tournament after Sting retired.
Oh yeah.
I still haven't forgiven them for that.
We were hyped for that. And it did not deliver.
Potential.
Mm-hmm.
If Private Party had won the tag titles in that and beat the Bucks, I think that would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Because that would be an even better callback to them beating the Bucks in the tournament the first
time,
right?
yeah.
Worst crowd chants, either CEO or Yeet. It's probably Yeet.
It's Yeet.
Worst catchphrase.
No contest.
Yeet.
Correct.
Career low, Chris Jericho. My favorite one, tricep of sand.
Nice.
CM Punk.
Yeah.
Memory of granite. On the other side of this, it was Chris Jericho digging up his 4-year rivalry with Orange Cassidy over the stained jacket.
Right.
It was brief, but it's still.
What was that match called?
Mimosa Mayhem.
There you go.
Worst character shift was Brian Keith becoming the world's biggest kiss ass.
Yeah. It's not been good for him.
The 2002 NWO Lifetime Achievement Award is the Timu Bloodline replacing the OG Bloodline, but then getting usurped at that spot by the year's end. Like how they tried the NWO and WWE and it fizzled out within the year.
And maybe next year you can give this to the Shield 2.0.
Perhaps. Oh my god, it's
that you love so much already.
It's oh my god, it's when we get to talk about NXT this week, it's just like everything they're doing, it's like if you really wanted it to be the Shield, you wouldn't be doing that. Not like I'm not saying it has to be exactly like the Shield, but if you want to be on the level of the Shield, they're not doing it.
And
right?
you finally saw their finisher and you just turned to me and go, It's
not it.
That's their Shield bomb.
It's so dumb. Yeah. That's not good.
It's not.
Anyways, speaking of the new Shield, you could give them this next year. It's the Buy It from Temu. It's a tie between Fatal Influence filling the toxic attraction shaped void in NXT or obviously the Bloodline. Worst new name is definitely Pure Fusion Collective.
How dare you?
But I will shout out the new Catch Republic because I hate them too.
Pure Fusion wins for sure.
I mean, they're dead now, so
that's why. Partly.
They're both dead.
I think the name was.
Yeah. Worst main eventer is Top Dollar because he main evented TNA Final Resolution.
He comes up today for me, I think.
Worst booking decision I think was TNA refusing to crown Joe Hendry on numerous occasions. Like it took them way too long.
It did.
2022 did it worse. Goes to the Money in the Bank fiasco this year where Drew won it, failed because of CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
The 2022 one was worse because Theory cashed in a mid-card belt and still lost.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So
Theory.
That one was worse. Highest GPA, a.k.a. grown point average, is Jericho because the amount of times we've grown when he turned on our TV. And finally, the worst doer of things.
It feels like you just invented an award for him.
Goes to Tongaloa, a.k.a. Camacho.
He is not a good doer of things.
He's arguably, and here, the worst doer of things.
Yes.
But I do
award winning.
Because he makes me laugh so hard. Because I think it was during the Bloodline rules at SummerSlam. Yeah, he like tries to tackle Cody in the corner. And he even messes that. Like, he just messes everything
up. I like that you put A.K. Camacho. That's for me. So that it clarifies who you're talking about.
Not Tamatonga. Or A.K.A. Smalatonga. Yeah, where's Talatonga?
Where's Talatonga? Hopefully learning to wrestle.
I want him to come now. I just want him to have that name. Like, the amount of joy it will bring me to see Talatonga on my screen. Yep. Like, I will
He's the tallest one, I think.
I'll never stop smiling if he comes on, but that is all.
All right. So we'll get into the major categories. I guess I'll let you do most of the work since you did most of the work. So if you want to talk about the category, the last winner, and the nominees, and then I'll just sit back and do my picks, or do you want to alternate?
I think you introduce it, and then I go through nominees and
you
stuff,
do everything else?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then we can alternate picks.
I like that. Makes sense.
I think that's what we did before.
Sounds good. So first category, it's not going to be a surprise for anyone who listens to us on a weekly basis. And if you don't, you can. We have a weekly show that comes out. Anyways, it's worst commentator.
Yeah. Last year we both picked Booker T. He's back here along with Pat McAfee and Nigel McGuinness. Brian Danielson era should be mentioned because
Yes.
I do actually like him a lot more now.
I don't
But
dislike
most
him
of the
anymore.
year it was like that, so I think it's still a fair pick for last year.
And McAfee is really obnoxious.
It's a tough one because I hate both Booker and Pat so much. Booker does the dumbest crap, especially on NXT. Like with the trick entrance, I think it's kind of annoying. And now with Vacker,
The new thing with Vacker, dude, it's not good.
It's so bad. And like there's so many times where you're saying like he'll say something stupid and Vic's like trying to correct him or like get it back on course, and they clearly have these like real disagreements, but like Vic can't really do anything about it.
Nope.
And I feel like maybe that's part of the reason they have Corey down there too, is to kind of balance it out. And like
he is starting to say more. The first few weeks I barely noticed he existed.
but now I feel like it'll kind of
people love
dilute
Booker though too.
It's horrible.
It is.
But people also love Pat, and I hate him.
They do.
Pat's way too over the top with his antics, and a lot of the time forces too much attention on himself when he shouldn't be doing that. He's supposed to be calling the action. And like Booker, a lot of things he says I think are just stupid, and like his delivery and things like compare him to Tessitore who debuted last year. I think Tessitore's great. From what I've seen.
He's fine.
He's
good.
For how long he's been there, I think he's great.
Sounds good, yeah.
Right? Like, and I think he's what a commentator should be.
Yeah.
Like he calls the action professionally. He's not drawing attention to himself, and he seems up on everything, right? And like if I feel like even if he's not always getting the moves right, I feel like he's trying, and I like that a lot more than what Pat is doing.
And the problem is McAfee has so much mainstream fame
that we can't get rid of
that
him.
they can't. He can do what he wants though too.
Yeah, that too.
He has the ability to go like, I want to do this, so I'm doing it.
And he's taken away from it for me. The trick with both of them is I don't really watch either of their shows regularly.
That's the trick.
Booker lasted a lot longer than Pat, so I'm gonna take Booker again.
Yeah, anyone who listens to this knows my choice. It's Booker. He is obnoxious, annoying. He detracts from the product. The thing that saves me is we talk about it on like. I don't think we pay a lot of attention to commentary. It seems because we.
No, aside from like the occasional clips on Dynamite, usually there's some funny stuff from like Nigel or Callis or.
No, he is the guy that is prominently featured that drives me nuts. Booker T.
I feel like you notice him without trying, right?
Nonsensical things. Sometimes Vic will like say something and throw to him, and Booker doesn't. He doesn't respond, or it's a non sequitur to something else. And then just the noises he started making at various. He's trying to. It's now like he's trying to find spots to do stuff like that so that he can add more to his repertoire, and it's really annoying. Not really great at what he's supposed to do. At its essence, is like sympathize with heel wrestlers, right? He's not the best at that.
I feel like you should get rid of Booker, and then Corey used to be good at that. Or I feel like he used to do that too much, but still, he would be better at it.
And then he occasionally objectifies women who are like 30 years younger than him. So that's.
But according to,
TV.
I want to say it's ESPN or something, he's the greatest black wrestler of all time.
He might be. He's amazing, but
in this role, if you consider The Rock.
True. In this role, not a fan. But anyways, next we go to. This would be more your wheelhouse than mine. That's worst theme song.
Yeah, this is one I also didn't have last year, but it's one I put for best of too, purely for Bang Bang Gang.
Yeah.
But you gotta balance the universe, of course. So I have Walk of Life, which was New Catch Republic's. Still the Baddest, which was Damage Control. The theme song for the Way Girls, Hartwell and Candice LeRae, their theme is horrible. Both versions of DIY's theme, they had a horrible theme, and they had a metal remix. Jericho's new Fozzy track, and CEO for Mercedes Moné.
Yeah, it was an easy pick for me because when you go through them, the only one that I really remember is I know I don't like DIYs. I wouldn't know the name of it or anything. CEO and Jericho. So
I like DIY's new heel one this year, actually.
For me, it's Monet. She wins by a decent margin here. It's repetitive. It's awful. I guess we hear it every week, guaranteed. Pretty much,
and it rips off Walter's old theme, or like that symphony part. You can hear the intro is the same. You can hear underneath all the CEO chants and the stupid rapping.
That's only thing I hear. That's the problem.
I do hate it. I do hate her.
And I don't notice theme songs a lot. That's kind of your thing, but this one stands out to me. So it's kind
of like on the opposite end of the spectrum of Bang Bang Gang. Cause I know you noticed that too,
right?
But that's
and
like
Hangman's theme. Those are like to me like those are just cool songs.
Those are great.
And this is clearly not good.
Honorable mention New Catch because like it's bland and kind of mid. And I don't think it fits either guy, especially not done. And even though I think it's not very good, I kind of like it. So it's weird that it's here, but like I do listen to it. Like I don't love it, but it is on my wrestling playlist. It's very strange. Like as a theme song, I think it's okay. It's boring, but I think it's fine. But as like a Pete Dunne theme song for me, that's where it's like it does
Nice.
not feel like him. For Bait, I feel like it works a little better, bro. That whole team never felt like Pete Dunne to me.
No,
And
too
another
bad.
one is the theme song for the Way Girls. It's Johnny Gargano's heel theme song from when he was doing the Way in like the later day Black and Gold.
Mm-hmm.
But then they added some odd and unpleasant noises on it, and it's just like it ruined a theme that I actually did like.
Yeah, because
So
you
it's
have
weird.
you have a file of or whatever, a playlist, right, of just
Yeah.
wrestling themes.
Yeah, and Gargano's heel theme, the one I'm talking about, is one that I ported back because they obviously dropped it when he was released for a bit.
But you got it.
I came close to picking Jericho's Learning Tree theme, as I don't think it sounds very good, and Fozzy sucks in general, but it's not the most noticeably bad for me.
I agree.
The worst theme of the year, I think, is DIY's theme, and you can really go back to either version, because for me, it's interchangeable. I feel like the metal version is probably a little worse, but either version I hate. It's our moment. It's bad. I really like their old theme song in their original run. It was generic, but
Yeah,
like
it
was
was.
good. If you remember it, it was
I do.
pretty basic. Like I really like that though. It had a good sound pace to it and kind of fit them either way. The new theme's bad. The lyrics are annoying. The beat's not good. It just has like a weird tempo, especially the metal version. And like I'm just lumping them kind of together. I can't decide which is worse, even though I kind of decided. They get the award under one umbrella. The theme sucks ass. Although since they turned heel, I really do like their new theme. It reminds me of like Undisputed Era kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I really
I'll have to
I
check it
really
out.
liked it. I noticed it when we were watching them at the Rumble.
Yeah.
So
You
I
would
really
notice
I
that.
really like their new theme. I'm waiting for that to come out.
Next, we go to what will be worst entrance.
Similar category, I guess.
Yeah.
Last year you picked Jericho, which is valid. I feel like he could go this year. And I picked Jack Perry, pre-scapegoat, obviously, because that was when he was coming to like the symphony or whatever.
Oh
the
yeah.
Beethoven,
Yeah.
and it was just like it was so
Didn't
stupid.
fit. No.
So Jericho's back. Mercedes Moné is here. Cody Rhodes is here, and Jay Yeet.
Star-studded nominee list there.
I agree. Okay, so I think I'm first this time.
You are.
It's a bit of a tough category. It's a lot easier to find entrances that I love too. It's harder to find outright bad ones because there are ones I don't care about. Like I feel like with entrances, it's a lot easier to find the ones that you like, right? Like for me, it's like there's Swerve was a great one, Bang Bang Gang is a great one.
Moose?
I think like
You like Moose?
Moose actually is a really good one. Metaphor.
Yeah.
Even Death Riders coming through the crowd is nice. I really liked House of Black.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's like 6 or 7 right off the bat. Here it's like we have 4 at most, right?
Mhm.
And this is just like when we are talking about entrances, we're talking about like their general entrance, not like Jericho. I already mentioned his one-off entrance.
No, they're
performing his own theme. That was horrible.
Their default entrance.
Like honorable mention for worst one-off entrances, Swerves this year recently
With the
at
drumming?
Revolution. That was
Yeah.
abysmal.
It was.
Honorable mention to Jericho again. I hate Fozzy, and I don't like his new track. I don't enjoy anything with his character. But upon rethinking it, I do have to pick Cody Rhodes. His entrance is the pinnacle of unnecessary over-the-top main roster pageantry in the worst kind of way. Roman Reigns also takes forever, but his doesn't feel as self-indulgent to me, and I feel like he has the aura that kind of commands that to me.
It's
like
more
to me, it
fitting.
feels less self-indulgent and more fitting. And on that note, honorable mention to The Rock for self-indulgence. Not that his entrance is bad. I actually do think his entrance is kind of cool sometimes.
It's just when he opens his mouth now.
Yeah.
Is the problem, which is crazy to say.
But yeah, Roman commands it more than Cody does. Cody takes ages to go down in the ring, especially that one at SummerSlam where he's coming from his bus. We see him talk with his dog. Then he's talking to Arn Anderson, getting his stupid skull mask.
Yeah.
And only then does he come out. And it's just so ridiculous. He takes so long to get to the ring, even on a general basis. The woe and singing along is so overplayed to me. His theme song, we've noticed, the longer it plays, the worse it gets,
Yeah,
right?
it does, yes.
And yeah, it's the greatest example of his ego. Just like, I just don't. It's not good.
So you can see my notes. It says maybe consider reversing, and I'm going to because on his strength of the finish this year, and I see him all the time. I was going to go Cody Rhodes, and it's usually easy for me for all the things you say. But I am going to go with Jey Uso because I see it every week now, and now it's like, I guess that's the 2025 though, right?
Yeah. But I feel like it's still a valid
It's
pick.
still valid, but it's
would
worse.
still say
I was
it's still
good because I was going to use as evidence that they play it twice now, but that's new. But
Yeah.
just in general, coming in through the back and through the, I can't do it.
And
And
it's just the
whole thing, and it takes forever. Luckily, I don't watch it live. So
either
I'll
of them
skip.
take forever. That's the thing, right?
Oh, Cody's is the same, but I'm going to give it to, just to mix it up, I'm going to go with Jey
Yeah, I'm
Uso.
right. Low stakes
Very
here.
two very
Low stakes.
deserving nominees for that
I
one.
agree.
Next, we go with, this one was easy for me
It's
again.
a fun one.
Worst non-wrestling performer.
Yeah, last year we both picked Ava. Guess who's back? It's Ava. Then Ash by Elegance is Dude. And then the other two NXT authority figures is Robert Stone and Stevie Turner.
I can't. What's the Ash by Elegance guy's name? We've looked this up before.
He's like the concierge or something. He doesn't have like an actual name.
I know.
Though, is the thing.
He did at some point in life. But anyways, is it me first?
It is.
So he's super annoying. Don't get me wrong. He was my like honorable mention here. But I don't watch a ton of TNA anymore. And I watch NXT every week. So it's really easy. It's Ava. She'd be in the running for not being good at things with Tongaloa. It seems like
Oh, yeah.
in the ring, speaking,
especially where she comes
looking
from, it's
comfortable
crazy.
on camera in general. It's just
like
not-
how is she?
it's one of the biggest.
How is she a spawn of the Rock?
It's like the biggest Nepo hire ever, right?
Oh, it's top 10 of all time.
It's like this is so mean, but like everything Rock has, and even though I'm not loving him right now, is skipping a generation.
Yeah, well, The Rock, it's like he still does have kind of some aura, but like even if he doesn't now, he's getting old and it's fine. But like peak Rock, obviously, like The Rock is still always going to be one of the greatest of all time.
Correct.
And Ava's like abysmally terrible at everything.
And we were very forgiving in the beginning, right? I'm like, whatever, she's brand new. She,
well,
like,
and because she was just a manager for the Schism, but then they made her an authority figure where the only thing she has to do is talk and interact with other people. Which is also what you have to do with the manager, but now it's like she has to talk and interact with everybody, though.
Yes.
That's the thing.
And it's like they quickly realized she can't wrestle, so we eliminate that. Now she's just talking and whatever.
But she can't do that.
So
either.
now what? Where do you go?
Here's what you do: you eliminate her from TV. Guess what? You don't have to do anything now.
I don't think that's.
I don't
happen.
know what you do.
Daddy's on the board.
Yeah, I know. She's gonna be stuck there forever.
But anyways, your pick. I think it's you.
I have to agree. Her role on screen has grown considerably from her role in the Schism last year, and she's awful. She has her weird default overbite face, which is mean, but it's just a like bad look. And then then her delivery of whatever dialogue she's given never sounds good or natural. It sounds honestly as robotic or even more robotic and unnatural than Maxine Dupree. She has some sort of speech impediment from the sound of things. This may be unfair, but part of what cements her as the worst is where she comes from. She comes from the biggest charisma magnet of all time.
Yep.
One of the industry's all-time great talkers, and to be so devoid of any speaking skill or charisma or like any on-screen presence blows my mind.
And
like,
this is after years now. We're not doing this after she's been there
at least
month.
a couple years
for sure.
She's horrible.
Too bad. I hope she gets good because I would rather like her than not like her.
I really don't know how much longer you can say that, though.
I agree. It's tough.
Yeah.
Next category we move into is our most overrated wrestler of the year.
Another brand spanking new one here, but
because we have underrated, right?
That is correct.
Got it. It's the other side of that.
Our nominees are Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Solo Sikoa, Trick Williams, Jey Uso, Damian Priest, Nia Jax, and The Rock. Not an AEW name in sight.
True.
It's kind of a mix here because I think a lot of them it's like what we think is overrated, but also I feel like it depends on the WWE machine too, because I think that could apply for like Solo and Cody, especially Solo, because I don't think a lot of people think the world is Solo, but the machine seems to certainly want to push him. And then like Jay and Trick, I think are especially ones of ours where it's like so over, but I just like it's not worth it.
Trick, we know what we have now, and I don't know.
Yeah,
they need to use him differently.
Arwell mentioned to Toni Storm though. Just because I think her character's overrated. I think she deserves praise for in-ring work because I think her matches are great, but I think the character is 100% overrated.
Yeah, her last match was incredible. We talked about it. Check out our Revolution review.
Yeah. First, I'd like to mention my two runners-up. One is Trick Williams because he's over as hell and everyone loves him, and a lot of people think he's the next big thing, but I think too many people overlook his lack of in-ring skill, and the same could be said for Jey Uso. More on that later. But he was made NXT champion twice this past year, and he falters in big matches on his own, like Jey Uso. The only times his title matches were good were against Dragunov, who's just that good.
He's amazing.
That's just Dragunov.
You're going to look good with Dragunov.
The Heat Wave 4-Way was also great, but that's an easy match to mask his shortcomings. That's like saying my favorite Karrion Kross match is the In Your House 5-Way, right? And I'd say his promos are hit or miss. I think they've gotten worse the longer and more he has to speak. Because I think you liked him a lot better when he was Melo's side piece, but that's when it's like Melo's doing the bulk of the work, there. Right?
Yes.
And that's when Trick doesn't have to sustain himself much.
He was just adding things in between Melo comments,
but
and it was awesome.
Huge difference.
And looking cool as hell.
And then my other is CM Punk. People are just over the moon for him since he's come back, and he's not as good as he once was. I'm not trying to hate on everything he does. Like to talk about this year, obviously it's not counting, but the promo he had on The Rock and Cena, I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the Hell in a Cell match last year was
Amazing.
also great.
Yep.
But he's just not as good as he once was, and for people to pretend that he is just wrong. He's injury prone and slower in the ring, definitely getting tired and much more. And a lot of people still think he's spitting venom, and he's just not that anymore. He's not Pipe Bomb Punk. He's not that guy, and he just does, like, a lot of the time it feels inauthentic to me.
Yeah, that's CM Punk pretty
Right.
much. He knows what to say, right?
He knows what to say,
and Cody
it
are
feels calculated a lot of the time.
peas in a pod like that. They both know
Exactly.
what to say in the situation they're in.
And honorable mention to Cody because his title reign sucks.
It does.
But my pick has to be Jey Uso. It can't not be Jey Uso. I feel my opinion on him in relation to the opinion of the vast majority is similar to that of Trick Williams, like I said, but on a bigger level. Ever since he left the Bloodline, went solo, people have been clamoring for a big title run for main event Jey Uso. However, I think being solo for this whole year really exposed his shortcomings, and not enough people talk about that. He can't go in the ring. The Mania match opposite Jimmy was crap. More on that later. His World Heavyweight title challenge of Priest in France wasn't good either. He didn't deliver as IC champ. He faltered on his first promo. More on that later.
That'll be coming up for sure. I was going to mention that.
And yeah, as I mentioned next, he fumbles for promo as champion. He was exposed as not ready. It lasted 2 weeks for a reason. Like, I think it was just to get him that accolade, but clearly he wasn't ready to sustain. He can't do his own matches enough. His character's a joke. He's a joke. He's not even a character. He's just a caricature regurgitating a stupid yeet meme, and the crowd just eats it up. He should have remained a tag team guy, because the Usos are probably one of my favorite tag teams of all time. I just rewatched the Hell in a Cell match with the New Day.
Yeah, we love them.
Fantastic. They were great. He's not good like everyone thinks he is, and he shouldn't be anywhere near the main event. He's 90% super kicks and spears, and his spear is bad too. Like, I saw someone talk about how bad his spear is, and I'm like, it also doesn't help you're on the same show as Braun Breaker every week.
Yes, I know.
Like, and then I also wrote, it doesn't count for this year, but it's been exacerbated by his early run in 2025, challenging Gunther for the title, and he should not have won the Rumble either. All of his defenders are fools.
This lots of good candidates here. I feel similarly.
I actually do really like our lineup in this category.
Cody and Punk, yeah, and I don't think Solo's good, but I don't know if people rate him super highly.
People don't, but obviously WWE feels like they're trying to make him something.
Yeah.
At least what they're trying to, because like
they are.
Obviously,
for sure.
he was the pretender to the throne, right? But I'm not sure if they were trying to make him legitimate or trying to make him that. Like, they were trying to make him something either way, I feel like, and I feel like they kind of falter either way.
They were like, let's see. We knew we always were going to make Roman Reigns out of Roman Reigns. Let's see if we can just make one randomly out of this.
And for me, it's like, we've always talked about this too. They had Solo as like this Umaga type or whatever for a bit, but then they tried to make him something he's not, and then you brought in Fatu, and it's like,
I know,
you want me to buy Solo when this guy's right here?
You had this guy.
Like, Fatu is just a revelation, right?
So for me, this was clear, right? One guy is incredibly over for very little reason. It's Jey Uso.
Yeah.
From using like a made-up word, obnoxious gesture to go with it now.
And he's got a rip-off theme song.
And they've just put this spotlight on him, right? As this singles character and wrestler, and he can't execute either of those areas. So he's a massive baby face. I just don't want him on screen. I watch Raw now on a tablet because when I just touch the screen, it plays in double time. So his presence on screen. So I still get what's happening. Matches, I don't do that. But if you're talking or whatever, I can just go super fast. And he's one of those things where I'm immediately reaching for the like 2x speed to get through him. So he wins for sure. Next category is that biggest regression, looks like.
Yeah. Last year you picked the Hardys and I took Wardlow.
Wardlow's a very good choice.
He's been gone, which is good because I hate Wardlow.
Now we said it 3 times though.
I know, he's coming
back.
Nominees for this year include Jericho, Saraya, Mercedes Moné, Jamie Hayter, and LA Knight, which I think would be more of a popularity thing because they dropped the ball with him, I think.
I think it feels like they don't love him or something.
Not anymore.
Right? I don't know what happened.
Or like they just, like, it's like a Hendry thing, I think. They waited too long.
So I'm first, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
Jericho is bad, but he was my worst wrestler last year, so I don't know like if regression would count from being the worst.
I feel like it's still a regression from where it used to be. And like I feel like somehow it's gotten worse.
It could be. Moné's pulled through with some good matches lately, despite like her
I agree.
Every promo being the same. Or like she's the one I end up yelling at, like, that's not how people talk, right? Like she's so bad sometimes.
It's the classic old thing from main roster where it's like, this isn't how people talk.
This is not how people speak to each other. For me, unfortunately, because I really like her, we both do, it's Jamie Hayter. I I don't think it's her fault at all. But creative decided to take this. She was super hot when she got injured, right?
Yeah,
They come
champion.
back and they just like don't even really build it or anything. She's just back and she's losing, right? And it's just super ordinary. So I don't know what they were thinking there, but I wish they could have brought her back and like made her a big deal again right away. But now I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope 2025 is better because there's now. Did you say there was like working visa stuff or whatever going on with her?
I saw that's another issue for Julia as well, in addition to her injury issues.
So yeah, I just think she's taken a huge step back after coming back from an injury when they could have reintroduced her.
Yeah, that's a fair pick. Honorable mention to Monet. Her match is still delivered, but the character work is not always bad, but usually pretty rudimentary and a far cry from the boss in WWE, who I really like.
Me too. I loved her. Yeah. And now I'm like, I feel like this is the same thing every week.
She used to be one of my favorites.
I agree. She was my favorite.
Hater's good, but I'm going to pick Jericho because unlike Hater, it is his fault. His in-ring work has slowly been regressing during his AEW run. I feel like it's just been even worse in the last couple of years, especially this year. There's been a noticeable drop-off in overall quality, with some efforts being really bad. He's also no longer the reinvention master he once was, and I think that's another major thing. Is I think Jazz was a bad reinvention, but this Learning Tree character is even worse. I think it's one of the worst of his career, and arguably my least favorite part of AEW this year. It lingers so much, and it still is.
Although that's part of his thing is we're always like every feud and everything.
That's more on that later.
Goes for months and months.
He was once great in the ring and on the mic, had numerous genius gimmicks that prolonged his career, but now he's just like beating a dead horse and stretching it, like dragging that horse along too far. Now it's gone. He can't elevate himself to the necessary standard, let alone help anyone who needs it. It's go away heat for me now. He refuses to retire or even take time off. Retirement is needed before we start questioning the damage to his legacy, I think. Like he's an all-time great.
I think we're there.
But now, that was so very long ago.
Yes.
Like, it's just, I'm just been begging for it to stop.
I know.
Like, and it still hasn't.
Every week.
Every week I'm begging for him to stop, and it's to the point where if Jeff Jarrett takes the ROH title, I'll be happy.
Wow.
Like, I genuinely don't care. I just want it to stop. And he ruined Brian Keith too, and honestly, Big Bill for the most part has been killed.
I think that's coming up somewhere for me.
Like, it's horrible.
Moving on, next category is worst feud of 2024.
Last year we picked Outcast versus Originals. I forgot about the Outcast. I'll tell you that much.
Me too, but now that you see it, you're like, that's a pretty easy choice.
Oh, it was. I just hated the Outcast so much. That was like Learning Tree before because I hated them so much. And I remember I'd hear their theme song and I would just like, even this year when Soraya was still using the Outcast themes, it would pop up and I would just be like, please no.
That's like Toxic Attraction or whatever the new version is.
Fatal Influence.
Yeah.
It's even just saying it back to back is like so.
Which is which? Like, I know those are both them, but which group is which? They are interchangeable.
It's so crazy to me that JC Jane is the one that stuck through both of them.
She is she's the glue.
All right, nominees. We got Learning Tree versus Hook and Friends, which extends to Jericho and Hook. Jamie Hayter and Soraya, which ties into the return you were just talking about. Cole versus MJF. Jericho versus Briscoe / Learning Tree versus Conglomeration, and Bloodline v Bloodline. Honorable mention to Cole versus MJF. They should have left it after Double or Nothing. They booked themselves into a corner, and it could have been easily avoided.
Wow, I can't believe that's only an honorable mention for you.
It's really close, but to me, it just didn't last long enough.
Yeah, okay.
Given the amount of time it took up and how much I hated virtually all of it, I have to pick Jericho and Hook, or Learning Tree and Hook's peeps, whatever. The ops, I guess they would be now known.
It didn't just stick for me. I don't even really...
Because it was so long. It lasted from, like, at least Dynasty all the way till, like, All In. Or even past.
I seem to have
it was
just,
at least
like,
6 months.
Let it fly out of my head.
Because it was so bad.
Probably.
It stretched out far too long. Like every Jericho feud of the last 2 or 3 years. He never should have been FTW champion, as it killed off a belt that was already needed in an old Yellering.
Yes.
Hook benefited nothing from this, as we expected. At best, he came out of this in the same position he began in. Belt back and all. He started as FTW champion, lost it to Jericho, had this drag-on feud for months and months and months. At All In, he wins the title. Great. Or All In or Grand Slam. I think, no, Grand Slam, he won the belt back. So I guess it's even longer than I'm expecting. And then he just retired the belt.
Yeah.
Like, great. There was no purpose to any of this other than to clog up Hook's year after his electric match with Joe. A match that got us excited about Hook for the first time. And I think it only served to anger both of us for months on end. I enjoyed none of this, and it was the embodiment of every problem we have with Jericho in this day and age.
For me, this was a runaway winner, partly due to being recent, but mostly due to how bad it was, and that was MJF and Adam Cole. And
My thing with that is that it's like, and I say this later, in a vacuum, it's not bad, which is the only thing that saves it for me.
Then I hated it. I'll say it that way.
I know, and
Maybe
I think
if
you're
it's
valid
not
for that, and I
objectively
do think
bad.
it was bad, but it was more circumstantially bad, if that makes sense.
And I think for me, it's made worse by the fact that you're taking two super, super talented people and making me hate what they're doing.
That's one of the only things
So
that saved is that like MJF can really sell it, and I really like Adam Cole, and it's like,
but it's like they're being
doing
so
their best.
wasted. If you're wasting Jericho and Hook, okay,
guess so,
I'm
but-
not that upset about it. But these guys could be doing amazing things. So I was just annoyed by this all the time. Kind of like borderline insulting, right? Like they're like, "Hey, don't remember the stuff that you watched."
or they're trying, not even that don't remember it, but like it's like revisionist history,
right? Like gaslighting. Like what
Yeah.
you remember seeing isn't what actually happened. This
Yeah.
is so. It won. Although it's weird to say, the other thing for me that dragged was Bloodline. So they'd be my honor. And I know it was amazing at one point, and it was, and
Not
we
this year.
liked it. But
That was like 2023.
it started to drag a lot. But it's easily MJF Cole for me.
Yeah,
All right, next category we have is worst storyline.
which is kind of similar. We got last year. I took Callis and Jericho, and then you took Bloodline. I guess we can include Bloodline in here. I'm just gonna write Bloodline. Nominees, we had Jericho trying to mentor Hook, which is kind of what I just touched on. Jarrett being a babyface randomly.
Yeah.
Final Testament
Yeah.
recruiting Xavier Woods, Cole MJF again, and Bloodline again.
Yeah, everything I said before applies here. I went with Cole MJF. The flip-flop of rules insulting us by what we just talked about,
Especially
right?
like to me who remembers everything, but even to you who doesn't.
I remembered it. Imagine if I'm remembering it, that means everybody is, and you're trying to tell everybody, no, this is what really happened. So they're just capable of better than this. So it wins again for me.
I'm giving that my honorable mention again. It should have been left alone, and in a vacuum, I think it isn't outright bad. If it made sense, like all the pieces are there, but all the circumstances surrounding it made it an infuriating watch. It's a shame because I love both guys, and that may be one of the only saving graces here. That, and it went nowhere near as long as my pick did. It kind of treads on the same things we already touched on, but it has to be Jericho mentoring Hook because it's something we didn't want from the off. It's something we knew would end badly.
Didn't help.
And it was horrible. It got worse when the luring tree came in, and we know how Jericho stories operate. They go months and months and months and months and months and benefit nobody. All they do is keep him on TV.
I was going to say except him, but they don't really benefit him.
The only benefit is that he keeps on TV for a while.
He's just treading water at this point.
Second Jericho mentioned Hooked, I groaned as I knew this would be an inescapable months-long saga destined to drag Hook down while claiming to elevate him. Hook was smart for not trusting Jericho at first, and he was dumb for it happening anyways, and Jericho turned on him. I didn't enjoy any part of this, and I was validated when it was as bad as I expected.
Yeah, so next category, we go to this one's tough to do, I guess, because we're doing the opposite of our best of. So it's least interesting wrestling story in real life.
Last year I took Orton's return story, and yours was the TKO merger.
Huh. Okay.
So the picks are the NWA TV deal, alleged TV deal. Vince sells his TKO shares. Sportsnet taking TNA in Canada. So the least interesting thing has to be NWA for me because anything NWA is so unbelievably uninteresting to me, and anytime we talk about it is basically to ridicule them because it's a shell of its former self, and every choice they make seems to be questionable. The TV deal Corgan claimed to have was suspicious because I couldn't think of any major network that would want them, and he claimed at one point there was 2 deals. I disagree. Then when it turned out to be them on the CW app, it was just as much of a joke as I'd expect for the NWA in this day and age. The execution of said deal was so bad that they ended up on X.
Right.
Their power is on X. They do all their pay-per-views in week-long chunks of power.
They do.
It's horrible. I'd rather watch Speed if I end up on Twitter. Like, I'm not watching them, so it's a joke to me.
Yeah, TNA coming to Canada wasn't a big deal to us since if I want to watch TNA in Canada, I can find TNA in Canada just as quick as logging on to a platform, you know what I mean? So NWA TNA deal, I'll pick as well because it's kind of irrelevant to me. I might check in with their product once in a while, and I keep up with the guy on YouTube. I'd give him credit, but I don't even know who it is, who just quickly reviews them, and sort of you see the gist of what's going on there, and it is like not good. So I take that as mine
Mhm.
as well. Moving into some of the fun ones here. Worst on the mic for 2024.
Last year I took poor Miles Bourne, which I do feel bad about now, and you took Ava, which I don't feel bad
No, I'll
about.
never feel bad about that.
Okay, nominees we have Miles Bourne. Sorry,
Well, he's
Ava.
making fun of it himself now,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah, he is kind of funny. It's him,
I
Ava,
kind of
Kalani
enjoy him.
Jordan, Adriana Rizzo, Soraya, Harley Cameron. Last year,
Yeah,
Jay Uso and Mercedes Moné. My honorable mention is Ricochet, but
he's cool now, but
that
that's
was before. That was
2024.
before. That was
Yeah.
before. Did you go first last time or was it me? I
You
think
go
it
ahead.
was me.
It was you?
I think so.
Ava's bad, as we know how I feel about her, but she's not in ring. She has a limited role. Kalani is bad, but I still consider her developmental, so I can sort of forgive her. At
But
the
nobody
risk,
does it like Lonnie, so there's also that.
at the risk of making this show all about one guy for me, I can't forgive a main eventer who's repetitive, boring, speaks every time it's the same, and it's just a catchphrase. So it's Jey Uso and his just prominent role and how little he appeals to me. He wins this easily for me. He is worst on the
Mhm.
mic. Like he's energetic, but it's generic, and you have to get through Yeet 1,000 times, and he looks ridiculous. Like I want to say cartoon character, but think you said it more modern would be meme. He's just a meme at this point,
He's a
right?
walking meme.
Yeah.
Yeah. I came close to picking Rizzo, and I really wanted to. Delivering fake accent is abysmal.
Oh, it's tiny
atrocious.
doses of awful for
Yeah,
sure.
but for me, I think the fact that she used an over-the-top accent kind of saves her, as I can convince myself she wouldn't be completely horrible if she spoke like a real
Fair.
person.
It's an easy thing to eliminate.
Ava, however, does speak as a normal person,
She
or at
does.
least should. And it's just as bad, if not worse. And in this case, I think the answer is worse. Her delivery is so unnatural and robotic, as I touched on. She has some sort of problem with her resting face and never looks natural. She's a charisma black hole. Every time I see her speak, it's bad and just so unconvincing. It's such a cringy form of just terrible. The fact that she comes from, like I said, arguably the most charismatic wrestler to ever exist is insane to me because she's so worse. The ultimate Nepo baby hire if I've ever seen one,
Correct.
because she should not be anywhere near a television screen.
All right. Poor Ava. Ava and Jey Uso are taking some heat this year.
Him, and Jericho.
Correct.
It's their show.
Those are the ones. Used to be Shotzi. Your brother pointed that out because he always listens to everything.
Oh,
he's like, I remember one year it was Jack hating on Shotzi something.
Because she was on. That was when we watched NXT, and she was horrible.
She's prominent and rough.
She's always been bad. It's just now I don't see her ever, so it's fine.
She might have been a nominee for this, but not this year. Worst character.
Last year I took Jericho, and you took Sammy Guevara. I think for the same reasons, because they were both flip flopping around.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, Guevara just rejoined Jericho, and it was just like
nonstop.
Just stop. Now he's teaming with Dustin Rhodes, so tell me which is worse. Learning Tree is obviously here. Learning Tree Jericho, Tony D'Angelo or the Family, Ash by Elegance, and Timeless Tony Storm.
Nice.
Honorable mention to the Babyface Bang Bang Gang and Bang Bang Scissor Gang. I would like to pick them out of spite because that's not how they're meant to be. But honestly, they are sometimes good as babyfaces. It was more so Bang Bang Scissor Gang that was horrible, and I can't when there's such a legitimately worse choice. I think it's fairly obvious who wins this category, and it's not even close. It may be close to Tony Storm because I really do hate her character, but I think that's one I more grew to hate because I think initially we were giving it a chance for a while, right?
Yeah, we were.
And there were some parts where it was
Always
amusing,
try.
but I think that one was one that grew on me like a fungus, and this one is one that just I hated from the off. It was Jericho. He was a shoe-in. From the first thing he did under the Luring Tree gimmick, I hated it. More on that later. Ever since he debuted it, it's been crap segment after crap segment with cringe-inducing inspirational sayings and insults. Stupid, like, fake baby face shtick to the point where it's, like, painfully not subtle. Bad matches, long drawn-out feuds. Half the time he's also trying to maintain, like I said, the over-the-top faux babyface shtick that never worked for me. I don't agree with the notion that he was garnering heat either, because I always just wanted him to go away.
Yeah, we were just hoping it was literally a minute. The Hollywood minute's just a minute.
Yeah, exactly. Jericho ran away with this category much like Ospreay had Wrestle of the Year on lock.
Yes, that's for you for sure. I went with the more unpopular choice here. And I seem to default to prominence mattering a lot to my picks, right? Unless there's somebody like far and away, It's gonna matter like how much you're on TV.
And that's my thing with Jericho too, is he was so prominent. And,
He was.
in my face.
So I went Toni Storm because nobody
I
got
like that.
more time or attention than her, and like,
and I feel like not enough flack on her. Like people love that too much.
Ash by Elegance is probably worse, but she's playing a minor role in a minor company. And Storm is basically the face of the women's division for a lot of the year, right? And it's not a surprise. We tried to enjoy it. It's just not for us, especially at the level they're pushing it. If it's, we always say, like, this is a mid-card thing and she's on once in a while doing this, it's probably pretty funny.
It is a mid-card thing, but also at the same point, even if it was, I think I've seen it enough where I just want it gone.
It's just not a main event thing. I don't know. Mariah May did her best and did a really good job of being like a serious opponent for that Toni Storm character.
Yeah,
but
this year and last year.
I don't know how else it's going to work.
It doesn't.
For anyone else, right? So
it didn't.
All right. It won't, probably.
It won't.
But anyways, that's who wins for me.
Good one.
All right. Next one, we're going into worst weekly TV show.
Last year we both picked Raw.
Definitely not this year.
This year we got Impact, SmackDown, Power, and RIP Rampage.
Yes.
Forgot about Rampage, actually.
And it's me, right?
Yes.
So Power is terrible for sure, and I've seen some of it, but it's almost like laughably bad, and at least it has people I don't know. But Rampage, on the other hand, was almost always unwatchable, and it was from a like my favorite company.
I don't think it's unwatchable. It was just like unnotable,
unnecessary.
Because it wasn't like which is why it died. But it wasn't like outright bad. I think like some shows are
missable and irrelevant, are what my notes say.
Yeah, that's completely fair.
And I guess they mostly agreed because the show got canceled. Late December was the last episode, I think.
Yeah.
So it does
Death
not. It
Riders
will not
wrote it
win this next year. I'll make that prediction.
Yeah. TNA certainly has its issues, and some of the things they put out are interesting to say the least. But that's more than I can say for Power and current day NWA. I've seen clips on Instagram, and from reviews I've seen, the action is always the same slow and boring crap with few matches straying from the formula. They moved from doing pay-per-views to making them multiple week portions of Power, which I guess means some of the bigger matches are on the show, but even the biggest matches for them are mediocre at best.
Oh, you're getting EC3 or Tom Latimer
as your champion.
Enjoy.
Yeah. Or Tyrus at one point.
Tyrus,
right?
yeah.
Obviously not this past year, but before. Some of the roster members I see on Power are the large and immobile fixers. The slime balls, who we already touched on, are ridiculous. The miserably faithful, who I believe are a faction, including a guy named Gags the Gimp.
Yes, that is correct.
Paul Burchill.
Yep.
Trevor Murdoch.
Correct.
Trevor Murdoch and Mike Knox is your tag team champions.
That's right.
Recently they got Mike Mondo, the Spirit Squad.
What? He is back, and he's an angry little fellow.
EC3 is champion for a while, and then Tom Latimer, and then like you got a Hornswoggle guy named Eric Smalls. Like,
yep.
I could go on forever listing the lackluster talent on Power, and I know the storylines aren't any better. Power's got, I guess, a spot here simply to highlight how bad NWA is, even though we don't watch it, because who does?
I check in, I'm not going to lie, and watch summaries. The summaries are tough to take, let alone watching it live. From there, we move into worst pay-per-view or PLE. We have to, cover all our bases here.
Last year, we both picked for 2023 was Fastlane, which was an irrelevant show. It was the one where Jay and Cody won the tag titles and then lost it 2 weeks later.
No.
Cena and LA Knight beat the Bloodline in a pointless tag. I think it was Rollins and Nakamura in the last man standing, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
That's when Carlito returned. It was LWO against the Lash Profits.
Yeah.
But it was just like the most irrelevant show. Nominated here, we have Elimination Chamber from Ozzy, Bad Blood from Atlanta, and Survivor Series from Vancouver, I believe. Honorable mention to the meaningless Blood Money Crown Jewel. King of the Ring was also in Saudi, but at least it had some actual stakes of the tournaments. And I cannot say the same for the Crown Jewel title matches. Nothing of consequence ever happens.
No.
On these shows more often than not, and I don't know how bad the rest of the show was, but it gets a shout out for the pointless marquee matches it was promoted on. Those big blinged out Saudi belts are a waste of space in every sense. Cody and Gunther for something so pointless irritates me to no end. However, since we didn't actually watch those shows, I respectfully will not pick it.
Yep.
But the decisions from the show deserve ridicule nonetheless. Given WWE had a really banner year last year, there really weren't any horrible PLEs
I agree.
put out. I think at worst they're irrelevant and middling.
Exactly.
WrestleMania wasn't amazing, but it's still some strong matches, and wasn't a bad meeting like 38.
No, it wasn't
last
bad.
year was fine. 39 we really liked, and
good.
38 we really hated.
Correct.
Bad Blood was meh overall, but still to match the year contender, which I think saves it for me. Were many shows complete skip over fodder? Yes, because I think I skipped like Bash in Berlin, just didn't watch it. But they also weren't bad to get enough attention. Initially, I was going to pick Elimination Chamber, as in an age where WWE is firing out hot international PLEs in rapid succession. Chamber in Australia flies under the radar and doesn't get talked about because really it wasn't notable. Like you have Backlash France gets talked about for that reception. Clash in Castle Scotland had the I Quit match and McIntyre getting screwed by Punk. You have like I don't. There's just a bunch. Even the Berlin one has like the better crowd. Like there's just so many hot
so hot
international
crowd.
crowds,
Yeah.
right? And Aussie was like decently hot, but there wasn't anything that happened. Nia Jax main evented this show,
She did.
so that's a choice in of itself. But nothing else really notable happened. Like New Cash lost to Judgment Day. Nah, neither chamber match is that memorable. And really,
I don't
it
remember
was
it,
a
that's
fine
for
show.
sure.
And this is one I know we watched. Too,
Yeah, of
so that's
course.
the thing. Upon further reflection, I think I'm gonna pick Survivor Series though. It wasn't the worst Survivor Series ever, but it was subpar at best. The opening War Games match was horrible.
It'll
More on
come up
that
later.
The U.S. title match was slow with only a notable outcome, which they recently went back on. Nakamura's title run was a complete farce. An IC title triple threat livened things, but then the world title match ground things back to a halt. What was it? Was it Gunther and who challenged Gunther for the belt? Can you look up the card while I'm talking about
War
it?
Games?
Survivor Series 2024. And then the men's War Games was fine, but not overly interesting with a lot of over-the-top main roster drama. And for a show that's part of the Big Four, it didn't feel like it delivered that well and was something I needed to see. Cody didn't even defend his belt on the show when he easily could have, because I think this was in the midst of the Cody-Kevin Owens feud.
Priest.
It makes sense now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your pick.
Oh, sorry. I got to get back to my sheet here. So we're looking at worst pay-per-view. I have to go back to my notes because I don't remember. So I go and look at overall grades and review a couple things. I rule out, again, as you said, all the Saudi shows because I don't watch them. And I think that seems to take out a bunch of front runners for this award by the sounds of things.
That's true.
Right? But anyways, it did have the match of the year, I thought, in Drew versus Punk. And maybe,
for them, at least.
Maybe that was the problem. Yeah, for WWE. Was that after that, it was just like nothing for me. There was nothing at all. The rest of it was pretty much a waste of time. I thought
We didn't even watch the main event.
Liv and Rhea wasn't good.
No, Bailey and Nia was really bad too. Remember the
Right.
Hurricane Rana spot?
And then it was Priest and Finn.
Yeah, which is
Middling.
Yeah, and then we didn't watch the main event, which is Solo and Fatu against Roman and
Didn't
Cody.
even watch it.
We didn't watch
because it was just so out.
Well, because you knew it was gonna be too, right?
A 40-minute, 70 run-in. So yes, I chose.
The Rock appears after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I chose. What did I choose there? Bad Blood. Yeah.
Next one.
One great match and nothing else. Next one is worst promotion.
That's his interesting one. I think after we both picked NWA, even though we don't watch it, it's just because like it's so bad, I don't even want to watch it to find out. But they're nominated as well as TNA and ROH, which ROH is like it's barely a promotion at this point, but I guess technically it is.
Yes.
This is you.
I've seen a lot of TNA this year. I've sort of dwindled at the end of the year. But
yeah, you used to
like
try more with them.
Yes. A little bit of ROH, next to no NWA. And that's because it's like the worst promotion that I check in on. Even MLW, which I would argue is not a good product when I check in right now.
That's another one.
It's still watchable compared to NWA, which is crazy.
Well, because they have some decent talent.
MLW used to be cool.
Yeah.
I used to check, but now
they had Fatu.
They did have Fatu. So when you focus your company on EC3 and Tom Latimer, you have problems. But then the rest of the roster is really underwhelming. And what's the women? Is it Kenzie Page?
It is.
She is underwhelming. And apparently she's like a trainer role or whatever. So she's going to be
apparently she's
prominent.
like the best one they have too.
I don't see a lot in her. This company seems to be on life support, but that seems to be most of its existence lately. So
it's like TNA though. They just won't die.
I don't know who watches their show. Anyways, it won for me again this year.
Yeah. I haven't watched a single match from them this year, if at all, since their 2019 Power Renaissance. But NWA has to get it again. Any reviews of their matches describe them as similar and bland. They had the most confusing and dumb TV deals of all time. The pay-per-view split decision, like I already talked about, is confusing. The CW app is like they basically got usurped by NXT. I feel like that kind of screwed them. And like you said, if they're focusing, the people they're focusing on are not good. Most of the roster isn't. They make questionable choice after questionable choice. No marquee talent worth watching. Seems to be picking more questionable indie wrestlers or cast-offs from years gone by, like Burchill or Mr. Spirit Squad. The return of the territory system seems to be big for them, but still something that's stupid because that's died for a reason, partially because of Vince's greed, but I feel like the territory system is just like, it's such an old fabled tradition.
Well, if he didn't do it, someone else was going to, unfortunately.
I feel like, right?
Um,
So it's just, they suck.
wasn't NWA 2 like, didn't that Salwayne, was that 2024?
That was 2023.
And that kind of muddied up their
That was
TV
the
deal and
cocaine
stuff.
angle, yeah.
Stupid.
That's the stuff I'm talking about, right?
Next, we go to worst segment of the year, which I guess we didn't have last year.
I guess so, which is weird.
Yeah.
Nominations are the first TV time Chris Jericho from May 29th Dynamite,
Mm-hmm.
the SDL PCO wedding from TNA
Which I
Impact on
believe was
August
so
1st.
bad I made you watch
You
it.
did.
Yeah, I did. I thought so.
The Jericho 4-segment onslaught from June 5th on Dynamite,
Mm-hmm.
which is where he appeared in 4 short segments and just wouldn't leave me alone.
Yes.
Jey Uso's inaugural promo as Intercontinental Champion from
Amazing.
August 30th. Oh, wait, no, that's September 30th. My bad. And PCO and SDL, their date from June.
Their whole
20th.
relationship was just like a buffet of awfulness.
Yep.
Yeah, and I made you watch some of it.
This is me.
It is.
Honorable mention to the Dynamite where we had the 4-segment parlay from Jericho. It felt like the nightmare would never be over. Well, there's certainly been some stinker segments this year. Shout out Mr. Yeet Man. Perhaps none had bigger and more dire ramifications than the first TV time segment with Jericho's Learning Tree character. It was the first segment with the full faction, and this was the segment that kicked off the character that would define this year for me in the worst way. It was the first segment of many to come, as this would not be the only time we would see TV time. This is a precursor to the misery that was to come for the rest of the year, and honestly, a sign of the apocalypse. The segment was insufferable from top to bottom. The over-the-top fake babyface stick wasn't clever or entertaining. They made numerous puns that were mind-numbing and irritating, all while maintaining idiotic smiles and cheery tones. The cherry on top for me was Brian Keith, a cool bounty hunter character who, after Double or Nothing, where he turned and helped Jericho retain the FTW belt, he was once the badass bounty hunter made to be a lame kiss ass. Had never have won, but he was a killer and a cool gimmick and a cool style. Instead, he got reduced to a moronic caricature who did nothing but kiss Jericho's ass and demand that everyone else did the same. He was stripped of anything cool or anything resembling personality, also being branded with the abysmal Bad Apple nickname and getting a worse theme song to boot. It was so bad for so many reasons, and mainly what it kickstarted. It was the worst.
Feels so strongly.
I hate it.
Yes. For me, SDL and PCOs was terrible, don't get me wrong, but it's honorable mention.
I already know what you're picking.
Because I think you were at work when this happened.
Yeah.
And I wish we could have gone and found because I was like texting you about how awful it was and how hard I was laughing. It was Jey Uso's first promo as Intercontinental Champion, and it was a disaster. And I even remember like, I will not forget this. This will win. And like something huge would have to happen for it to be kind of like something as big as New Day splitting up
but the opposite.
to bump Paige, right?
Yeah.
Like this is the opposite of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He stumbled and obviously got lost, like just full on forgot what he was supposed to say. I thought he just made an ass of himself, and this was them as like, he's a big singles champion now on the path to world champion, and I made a point of like getting you to watch it. It was so bad. You know it's bad when.
Yeah, absolutely. Then I think you're introducing the next one, right?
Yeah, we're going next. It is
this is the good part.
Getting into some matches now. We start out with worst tag team match of the year.
Mm-hmm. Last year I picked Knight and Cena against Jimmy and Solo from Fastlane, and you picked Sting, Darby, Cassidy against Kip Sabian, Butcher, and Blade from Dynamite. So nominations are Hobbs and Takeshita versus Sting and Darby from Dynamite Homecoming. I know Takeshita here, crazy, right? Rock and Roman versus Rollins and Cody from Mania Night 1. I know that'll be blasphemy for a lot of people, but
it was dull.
It was just so plotting and long and just pointless. Cody, Owens, and Orton against the Bloodline from Money in the Bank. Creed Brothers versus DIY from Raw, March 18th. Champions versus All-Stars tag from TNA Impact, May 16th. And then Metaphor versus Zarya and Sol Ruka from...
It was rough.
December 17th.
A late arrival on that one.
I think this is you.
It is me, and one of these matches stood out to me. Like, this was one of those, I look at the list and something jumps out, and it's easy for me to pick. And it was billed as the largest tag match in TNA history. So, Champions versus All-Stars. Like, I remember being angry watching this match. It was such a waste of time. So, you had men and women on the same teams. I forget even... Okay, here's the list. I put it in there. So men and women on the same teams and heels and faces on the same
Right, because it's
teams.
champions and then
So Broken Matt Hardy, Ryan Nemeth, Danny Luna, Jody Threat, Joe Hendry, Eric Young, Sammy Callahan, and Steph DeLander. So that's your group of mixture of faces and heels and men and women.
All-stars.
Yeah, all-stars. And then on the other, it's Jordan Grace, Mustafa Ali, Masha Slamovich, Laredo Kid, The System, Moose Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and Alicia Edwards. So far too many people, far too many times where they're just all things break down and they're all brawling, and just like none of it really mattered at all because you couldn't make heads or tails of what was going on with the mixture of the teams the way they were made. So it was awful, horrendous waste of time.
The Bloodline tag matches are boring, and they're never anywhere near as good as everyone makes them out to be. Like, so many people's best match of the year was Cody and Roman. Like, get out. Get out. They're always too slow in plotting between basic moves before amping up in the action final minutes, and also tend to have a million run-ins. The over-the-top storytelling is too much for me. Sometimes it's good, but a lot of the times it just feels like too much, and not enough happens in the matches themselves, which is surprisingly what I'd like to see.
Right.
These aren't the worst matches, though, as they're not outright bad. The worst tag match of the year for me has to be the one from Dynamite's Homecoming show, Sting and Darby taking on Keshta and Hobbs, which I think ended up being no holds barred.
Keshta's a worst of award winner.
I know.
How
it's
dare
crazy.
you?
It came the week after Takeshita dominated Darby and looked like a beast on the first Dynamite
Yeah, that
of the
was
year.
fun.
So you can imagine how thrilled I was when this match basically undid all that and dragged Hobbs down too. Takeshita and Hobbs looked like goobers having to sell for the old man Sting offense.
Oh, that's right.
And poor Hobbs was paired off with Sting for a lot of the match, so he got to look horrible and just not get his licks in on this old man at all.
Nope.
Not to mention after taking the Scorpion Death Drop through the table off the ledge of Dailies. At least the spot where Hobbs and Darby swung Darby like a kid was really funny and looked sick, but that was the only redeeming quality.
You were mad about that
Callous
match.
boys just were made to look so horrible, and it was bad.
Worst match of the year, women's now.
Last year for 2023, I picked Britt Baker versus Taya Valkyrie from Dynamite. Remember, that was really atrocious.
Taya Valkyrie not being good in a match? That sounds crazy.
You picked the SummerSlam triple threat with Belair, Asuka, and Charlotte.
Wow, like looking at it on paper, Belair, Asuka, Charlotte sounds like it should be good. What happened? I don't remember.
It was just it was overly choreoed, and it was just like it was just bad. All right, so we got Thunder Rosa versus Red Velvet from Dynamite, which I remember being particularly horrible.
Yep.
Jordan Grace versus Steph DeLander from Rebellion.
Awful.
Roxanne Perez, Lola Vice, Heatwave. We were there.
Yes.
Bailey versus Nia Jax from the aforementioned Bad Blood. Camille versus Chris Statlander from Fright Night Dynamite.
Camille's disappeared. She is vanished.
She's dead.
Into thin air.
Nikita Lyons versus Adriana Rizzo.
I think I made you watch that one. Yeah.
November 12th NXT.
It was rough.
The Women's War Games match. And Anna Jay versus Penelope Ford from December 4th on Dynamite. So I think it's me. Honorable mention to Rizzo versus Lyons. It was initially my picks. It was so unbelievably abysmal. Two women not known for good quality and delivered what you would expect. A lot of sloppiness and head-scratching moments.
Like percentage of the match that, like pound for pound, you know what I mean?
Pound, it was the
like
worst.
If it was like 5 minutes and how much percent of it was like awfulness, it's very concentrated awfulness.
I was initially going to pick that. However, when picking match for best and worst, I feel it's important to consider all factors. Obviously, in-ring story quality is the most important, but I feel like it's also relative because the skill, the talent, and the size of the match and or stage have to be considered. While the in-ring action itself was probably worse than the NXT match, it was also what I expected.
Fair.
As I already stated. The talent pool was of considerably higher status, however, in the Women's War Games match.
Yep.
Liv Morgan's fine. Bianca's great. Io's great. Bailey's great. Nia sucks. Stratton's great. LeRae's good. Raquel's good. And Naomi's fine. And Ripley's also great.
And we've loved you more than me, but we've loved the format before, right? Like there's been amazing War Games
matches are great. More so in NXT, but there's still some good ones.
Right.
Most of the talent here is strong, and yet this match floundered. Many of the match's missteps were largely on the backs of those who were less skilled. But given the talent involved, you'd expect better still. Majority of the match before everyone entered was not good. Horrible chair shots, some botched or poorly executed spots, and some that were bad even if executed as planned. Had some notable highlights like Io and Stratton's stereo cage dives or the finishing riptide through a table, but Nia Jax looked her worst here. For the people who say she's improved, I ask you, who are you watching? Raquel did next to nothing. Naomi was not much better. Felt like the Ripley Morgan stuff wasn't enough of a factor despite being the only real grudge here. The storyline was not good here. The build was really bad too. On the whole, this was a bad War Games match. It was one of the most cobbled together feeling matches in recent memory. One of the rare times I really felt like they did this match solely for the War Games, nothing else. If this had formed around the Ripley Morgan feud, maybe it'd be a little different, but they didn't do that enough, I think, and it also doesn't save this match. It's definitely my pick.
Yeah, I don't have much to add, but again, like I'm picking the same match. It was so much talent in it, such a good concept for a match, and just so boring. So my actual thoughts from I went and found my review, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said we may have gotten our worst women's match of the year just before the deadline. Nia started out this match, was a terrible choice, and this match,
that's that too. She started.
This match had a lot of problems and only a couple good stretches and memorable spots in basically 40 minutes. Terrible use of weapons, lots of what seemed like confusion, stretches of nothing happening, tables dragged out and left. This match was a hot mess for the majority of it. The build felt random and rushed, which also is a factor, right? And the match itself was bad. Considering how high profile it is, it will be discussed on our worst of show in the not so near future. Yeah, it was awful.
Mm-hmm.
Worst match of the year for the men now.
Nice. Good one. Last year, I picked the Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match.
Okay.
Jeff Hardy and Jeff Jarrett, remember?
Right. Yeah.
And, like, they got red viscous liquid poured on them. Leatherface came out.
Awful.
That was horrible.
Awful.
You picked, rightfully, Reigns versus Jey Uso in Tribal Combat from SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Also horrible match. This is actually the exact attire. So
that makes sense. Timely.
This is actually... We'll get there. Nominees. We have... It really pains me to put him here again, but Takeshita's back. This time against Jericho from February 7th on Dynamite. Mox versus Hobbs from Dynamite on April 24th.
Bad for a reason, as it turns out.
Yeah. Jay White versus Billy Gunn, Dynamite April 3rd. That one really hurt
If it
me.
were which one made you angriest,
that might be it.
you were very...
It's probably that.
And rightfully so.
I will mention it.
Yep.
Jay versus Jimmy from Mania. I don't remember which night. Also doesn't matter. Mox versus Naito from Forbidden Door.
Really underwhelming.
Underdelivered.
That was the wake-up call for me. Like, Naito is kind of washed.
Yeah. Think that's the most equivalent match to Mox versus Copeland.
He can't move, really.
Oh, did you see we're getting Mox versus Copeland?
I heard. I saw a headline.
It's like a redemption, maybe. I hope it is, but honestly, I don't care.
No.
I just hope it's ending the feud.
That's fair. Yes, has to.
Jericho versus Suzuki from Dynamite on July 24th. Was that
like 8 minutes of chopping?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a problem.
And Jericho versus Ishii, also probably 8 minutes of chopping from Dynamite.
Look at Jericho sprinkled all over that, eh?
Yeah, it's telling. You are up first this time.
Mox versus Hobbs was awful, and I was annoyed by it, but we later found out that Hobbs was injured in the middle of it or near the beginning of it, I think.
Yeah, that was the match that took him out until he returned at the end of last year, right?
So that mitigates things. I also hated Gunn and White for... Like, you love Jay White, and I'm a big fan of his too, and that was disrespectful to him to have him losing to a 60-year-old.
Well, like, he got his ass beat the whole time,
Destroyed.
And then he lost by DQ because he took the easy way. Like, it had a DQ finish.
It was like an extended squash where he cheated to lose.
Yeah.
Basically. But this was easy for me. You have what could be a great story because it was brother versus brother, right? And
I was actually looking forward to this match.
As tag team wrestlers, we thought they were good, so I don't know what happened, but... on the biggest stage ever, which is WrestleMania, and the match was absolutely terrible, and it's on everybody's short list, I think.
Even people who like main roster stuff, hate this match.
It's the Usos, right? There was no heat. They just came across as unskilled wrestlers who could really only like super kick and spear and Samoan drop, and there's
maybe
nothing.
Some splashes.
Like, how can these guys have no chemistry? It's like Ava having no charisma. How do these brothers?
And to me, it's also like the opposite of we talked about it on our Revolution review, but like even though they weren't always regular tag partners, still faction mates, Ospreay and Fletcher have such unbelievable chemistry together, and this just felt like the opposite.
The opposite of this. So. I groaned out loud a lot while this was on. And
I think the most memorable thing was the Dude Wipe sponsor on the Trons.
And other matches might have had more like botches and stuff. It's not like they made mistakes. It was just
But again, you have to consider the magnitude of the match.
And
too,
repetitive,
right?
And just like another super kick. And
yeah.
It was awful.
Absolutely. It's worth noting how crazy is Takeshita's in 2 worst match nominees. Neither are his fault, but it's just crazy how him and Switchblade made it in here. It shows the quality of AEW's old timers.
Yes.
I'd love to pick any of Jericho's efforts because I think they're all horrible, and I'm especially annoyed that he dragged Takeshita to such a lackluster match.
It's true.
And obviously the Jay White one really bothers me. Like, he was a top guy in New Japan, and I think people were even bothered by him being in trios, but I really like Bang Bang Gang. So honestly, if Bang Bang Gang stays a prominent trio, I'm perfectly okay with him
If you
doing
treat
that.
trios the way we want them to.
Yeah, and I think
as
they
well.
were for a bit with Bang Bang Gang. I think that's totally fine. I think they're a great group, and I liked them feuding with Death Triangle last year. I think they're great, and I don't think it's a waste of White's time because I think it would still be able to showcase him. But I think their alliance and subsequent feud with the Acclaimed was a waste of time. And this match encapsulated that. Like, Billy Gunn's not good at this day and age. He's old and he's washed.
In a singles match, no.
In a singles match. And, like, yeah, White's just, like, it wasn't even that great of offense, too. I remember him getting sent into the barricade a lot of basic stuff. And White's just on the back pedal for 90% of the time. And he takes the cheap way out with a low blow. Like, it was such a disrespect to him.
It was.
I absolutely love him, and I'm very grateful that after he kind of got injured with Hangman and came back, and he had the feud with Hangman, and he got into the world title scene in the World Send 4-Way. Like, I'm glad that he kind of recovered his year towards the end, because I thought, like, even as a babyface, I thought it was really good.
He's main event adjacent right now,
right? And so I'm really happy with that, and also the Copeland stuff was more so this year than last year.
That's right.
So that also is not factoring into.
That's the problem
year.
with recording worst of so late.
I know.
I'm like,
that's what I was saying.
Building in stuff from the last 3 months, 2 months.
But I would love to pick those. But like I said, those are all minor TV matches, and the magnitude has to be considered. So I'm agreeing with you on Uso v Uso. The match was one everyone was waiting on, including myself. It was built up since 2023 SummerSlam, which was that match that you hated, the Tribal Combat.
Right.
With the turn that didn't make sense
from
Jimmy. A small piece of the weekend that was to culminate the main Bloodline saga. However, it fell far short of hitting the mark. Jay's character was near incapable of taking anything seriously, so I was looking forward to the prospect of a brother versus brother match. The build suffered from the Yeet Man doing his thing. The match itself was a major letdown. To a lot of people, from what I saw. It was too slow and uninteresting. When it picked up, it just consisted of the two doing their best to strip the super kick of any effectiveness it had left. The large criticism of ours throughout the years that Jay has been Jay as a single star. And this match is just one example of numerous that he can't really go on his own. And Jimmy's not bad. I think he's also improved, and I think he's actually better in solo matches nowadays.
Yeah.
But this was not a good example of that.
It was not.
For a match that basically everyone wanted to see, and for being on the biggest stage in wrestling, it was not good. And it was my worst match of the year.
Consensus.
And a horrible advertisement for Dude Wipes.
It was. Worst faction of the year.
Last year, I picked the Outcast, which is no surprise to anybody who listened to us back then. And you took the Schism, which is also no surprise.
That's a pretty banner year for terrible factions.
Those
are both really bad.
That's a great 1-2
It's a strong year, yep.
I agree. The Outcasts are back here, in addition to the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. Hated it.
Yeah.
Undisputed Kingdom. More so in the Cole MJF feud, but even in the early Undisputed Kingdom, they got...
Because the Kingdom are in there.
That, and their
Tainting
whole purpose was to fight MJF, and he was injured, so they had no purpose ever.
No, that's right.
The Learning Tree, obviously, Pure Fusion Collective, Fatal Influence, and Team of Bloodline, not Fatu.
Not Fatu version.
So that's me, I think.
It is.
Honorable mention Undisputed Kingdom. They were just so lame, I couldn't get behind them, and I really tried when they started out. Like, I tried to like them because I love Adam Cole.
You would try.
And I love Roddy, but I just hate Wardlow, and I hate the Kingdom.
Forgot about Wardlow again.
Although Taven had that one good match against Cassie. Remember the Texas Death Random where he'd like jump through the table?
Yes.
That was a really good match, actually. They did little, no, and were dead in the water when the reason for existing, MJF, was injured. Like I said, leaving Cole to cut empty promos before taking time off to heal his ankle, and then they were lost without a leader. They were already meaningless by the time Cole returned. Then they were screwed when they nonsensically turned babyface to fight MJF in the feud we already touched on enough.
We did.
Honorable mention as well to Bang Bang Scissor Gang, because that was just a horrible, horrible waste of time. Absolutely abysmal. I find it hard to see reality where this doesn't go to the Learning Tree. The whole gimmick was one of my least favorite things on TV. Like, I've already touched on it enough. It just got more unbearable as the weeks went on, I found. The first segment they had was horrible from head to toe. Worst segment, already touched on it. Brian Keith was cool. He became uncool. I thought Big Bill actually was worse off until his feud with Hobbs this year.
Right.
And it was just so stupid. I don't need to touch on it much. Jericho is just the pinnacle of the shit sandwich, which I'm sure will be touched on again. Bad in ring, worst character of a bad group. It just wasn't good.
I think I agreed with you on this one. I did shout out the Pure Fusion Collective for just existing. And again, like, the name's terrible. And they built this, like, this group of tough women, right?
That
and,
suck.
And made them a heel faction that couldn't beat anyone ever.
And also Baszler's the tag guy.
And we're just, like, fodder for
Yeah.
mid-card baby faces or upper card,
And Jade
right?
and Bianca.
But again, prominence matters to me, and no faction gets more TV time that irritates me
Yeah.
than the learning tree. Just the tone of the segments is a miss. Jericho is not using the group to help anyone. We've talked about it. Keith's less interesting. Big Bill, it's kind of like the crowd really likes him, but
It's not because of the gimmick.
no, I don't think so either. So it's gotten me to question whether that Jericho has something in his contract, right, about getting to be on TV every week or has creative control or something, because
I think
I
the
don't
question
know
is valid.
what group of people are sitting around going, yes, this is a good
All
vehicle
right, what's our
for,
creative pitch for Jericho this
right?
week? We need it.
Not interesting, not amusing. They don't really ever accomplish anything. So I don't know. It's just we groan every week. So they win that
Yep.
for me as well.
Next one.
Worst tag team of the year.
So last year I picked the Hardys and you picked Decay.
Love my choice there. That's a great pick. They're awful.
All right, so our category consists of the Kingdom, Taven and Bennett, Awesome Truth, the Hardys, Belair and Cargill, and First Class.
Yes, First Class. And it's me.
It is.
I can't stand the Kingdom. If they were a little more visible, they would probably win for me just because they bug me. But
Even though they're ROH tag champs for most
I
of the year.
still never see them, right?
Yeah.
But so they don't really register for me. But I did watch TNA for a lot of the year, so I'm going with First Class. Top Dollar and Swan, right?
and then later on Casey Navarro.
Right. So Dollar is just really not good, and his confidence makes him even more hateable
It's
for
so
me.
misplaced.
It's like he believes he's actually really talented, and we all can see like you're not. So it's a big disconnect for me, and just not interesting. Like Rich Swan's fine in the ring, but he doesn't do anything new and exciting anymore. And Dalla is just a huge
I like that
dude,
we still call him Top Dollar.
but not good. I kind of forget his name half
AJ
the time.
Francis.
Yeah, there you go. So they win for me. Got to get to TNA some love in this show.
Yeah, that's true. Honorable mention to NWA's Slime Balls, because what the hell even
You
are
loved
they?
when you discovered. I remember when you discovered them, and you were like, "What are these guys?"
It's just the peak, and like they were a team that literally it was said that Corgan scouted them from whatever territory they came from. And I'm like, these are the people you scouted, thought were good, and you brought in.
They are indie, very indie.
But like, I don't even know what it is. And to New Cash Republic for making two very different, very cool wrestlers, bland, similar, and pathetic.
Really bland.
And also having one of the worst team names ever created. Also, I would like to shout out Blair and Cargill because.
Okay.
I think I have to go with Awesome Truth. I hate their act for many reasons. One, they won the tag titles, which they never should have.
They did.
Because they're not a serious team. Two, it puts too big of a spotlight on Truth's antics. I think he works in small doses, and he does make me laugh sometimes.
He does.
But not in a major spot where you're kind of cheapening the tag division. And three, Miz is not a babyface. Stop trying to make Miz a babyface.
I think that's the biggest
It's
flaw.
the third time we've tried to do this, at least, and
Doesn't
it's
work.
horrible.
No.
The first time in 2013, it was bad. He got the figure four from Ric Flair, which is stupid. Then the second time, he feuded with Shane McMahon when he was the main thing.
Or
why was that a thing?
If he's babyface, he's mid-card and loses all the time. That's
Yeah,
the only way to...
Well, Miz as a heel is really compelling sometimes. Like when
Yes,
he
he
was
can be
Intercontinental
good.
Champion, he was great.
He's hateable.
But he's so boring and useless as a babyface because he's not likable.
He's not.
And I don't even mean that as like a slight against the dude. I just think he's really good at playing a smug
He
villain.
is. It'd be like similar to Logan Paul, right? It's the
which didn't
previous
work
version
either.
of that. He was from
Yeah.
reality TV and was just so
Yeah.
hateable.
Or like they tried to make Del Rio babyface. That's not a character.
No.
Like real life aside, his character is like this fancy Mexican aristocrat. Why would he be a babyface and like a man of the people? That doesn't make sense.
It
right?
did not.
So the Awesome Truth gets it for me. They were such a waste of time. The Raw tag division really took a hit because even Balor and McDonough, I liked them a lot, but they didn't do a whole lot with the belts.
They did not. There was not. It's an accessory a lot of times. It's not a division,
It's
really.
a prop, bro.
Worst female wrestler of the year. We had consensus
Last year. It was consensus.
Easy.
Saraya.
Easy.
She's back. She's with Harley Cameron, as Harley Cameron's not good at wrestling, and this is before she unveiled her wealth of talents.
Yeah, in ring, she is not. Even her most recent match, we were critical.
Yeah. Anna Jay is perennially horrible.
Worst finisher.
Oh my god, yeah. Or
Her
just
signature
move.
Thigh of Doom.
Thigh of Doom. Camille sucked and left.
Gone. Vanished into thin air.
JC Jane has been in NXT for years now and still sucks.
I would say she's mediocre. She's not terrible.
Nia Jax sucks and isn't better. I don't care if people want to tell me. She still sucks. And Jade Cargill has been the same or is maybe even worse than AEW.
Plateau Cargill.
I think it's
you.
me, right?
Yep.
I was close to picking Saraya again. She's still horrible. Thankfully, her presence has lessened a lot.
A lot.
I have to go with Anna Jay. So many people, commentary included, crowed about how much she improved and how good she's gotten when that's simply not true. And the same case could be made for Nia Jax. It's just I watch Anna Jay on a regular basis.
I will make that same case momentarily.
I'm welcoming that. She doesn't have good matches, and the majority of her offense looks like crap or is poorly executed. She's not a strong promo either, and like many women, lacks a character to really get behind. A factor that bumped her above Saraya for me is the fact that Jay got so many opportunities this year to show herself and was still bad. She challenged for both women's titles on multiple occasions. I don't think it was ever deserved and always came in a left field. She's been in AEW since the pandemic. She's always been bad. For some reason, she had an uptick in promise this year. A Japan excursion did not help her, even though they wanted to tell me that it did. And she lands as the worst female wrestler this year.
Yes. I feel like you're right. Commentary really bend over backwards to put her over, and then there's just a disconnect when you're
That's what I'm saying.
It's not
kind of like
helping
Garcia,
her.
but he can wrestle.
It's not helping her because there's a disconnect between what they tell us and what we see.
What I'm seeing. Yeah, right? Like, that's my thing is, like, it's one thing for with Nia, which I know you're going to talk about, is that how many people talk about that she's great. But for me, with Anna, it's that. I think I've seen people say it, and then commentary. Like, it's both IRL and in kayfabe that they're trying to tell me that she's so much better, and she's just not.
And I feel pretty much the same. I'm just going to swap in Nia Jax's name for this. I'm tired of people talking about how much she's improved. Maybe she's improved, but I still find her worse
She's
than
still horrible.
Almost everyone else. And it's because she gets a ton of exposure. She had a title run this 2024, right?
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. And I just find significant issues with almost all of her matches. There was one she just had on TV that I really liked, remember?
I think it was the Saturday Night's Main Event with Ripley.
That was a really good match. But anyways, her character work, I think, is just fine.
Yeah.
She does the same kind of thing regularly. Other women may be technically worse in certain matches. I think like it's her overall body of work, her like breadth of experience.
Pun intended?
No, not pun intended. She's consistently underwhelming. Like starting her out in War Games
was such a horrible choice. The Bad Blood match was also really bad.
Right.
I didn't even like the SummerSlam one, if I'm being honest.
The place she's in, the performances she gives us, she wins for me.
Yeah.
Then we move into our final one, which I have left blank because I wanted to ponder. So, and I'm supposed to go first.
I can go first if you let.
Yeah, let's do that. I think I know who I'm going to take. Okay. So it is our final award. It is the worst male wrestler of the year.
Last year I took Wardlow because I hate him.
Oh wow! Look at me early on the Jericho train.
So much. Yeah, I should have picked Jericho, but you did take him last year.
I did.
Jericho's back. He's joined by Jey Uso, Trick Williams, and Mr. Top Dollar. Dollar bills.
Yeah.
Honorable mention Camacho, Tongaloa. He doesn't do enough wrestling and one not to really be considered.
But when he does,
boy, is it bad. And he's in a marquee spot as a featured Bloodline guy, and he messes up literally everything he's asked to do. He has to get a mention here. At the same time, even though he sucks so much, like I find him so legitimately hilarious.
Again, he is the highest concentration of bad.
It's kind of like the Rizzo match. Yeah,
exactly.
Like, percentage of things he does to things he does poorly, it's like almost 1-1.
Right.
Like he
shockingly consistently
botched his
bad
debut
at everything.
He botched the Cody thing at SummerSlam. He botched holding the tag title.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and it's not major enough for him to actually be here. And honestly, it makes
maybe
me
he's
laugh
doing it on
so
purpose
much.
now. It's
Hold
his
on.
brand.
I actually need to pull up this post that I saw about him that made me laugh so hard because it was like it's one of those ironic ones.
I'd
right?
like to think he's in on it now, and that
I don't think it's
and
impossible,
he realizes
right?
like this is my gimmick.
Facts you didn't know about Tongaloa already. Tongaloa is only 17 world championships away from breaking Ric Flair and John Cena's record.
True.
He has the same number of main events as CM Punk.
That's true.
He has the same number of IC title reigns as Sheamus.
Yeah.
And he has never lost a match that he won.
Very good.
And then I also said, because he's on the super deluxe edition of the 2K with the Bloodline, he made the cover of 2K after less than a year of being here.
People would kill for that career.
Right? Anyways, I do think he's hilarious. He's horrible, but I love him. Then another honorable mention for Jay. Everyone loves him so much, and they're all over the moon for this yeeting joke of a character who can't hold up his end of major singles matches. His character is stupid, hardly a character. His moveset's 90% super kicks and spears. He can't possibly be taken seriously. A man who survives solely on popularity. He trades on an outdated meme. If I didn't have to suffer through a year of worse crap on weekly TV, he would be my pick. And 2025 is already coming out swinging, so I guess we'll see how this year pans out.
He is.
But I find it very hard to envision a world where this category doesn't go to Jericho. He escaped my grasp last year, which is a mistake I cannot forgive again. allow again, sorry. For the earlier the portion he took hits for that Kylie Ray situation, and his crowd reactions were lessening. People wanted him to retire, outside of just us. And he reverted to Lionheart to avoid Judas. He started the Hook feud, which was the beginning and the end of my enjoyment. He then began the Learning Tree. He became the Learning Tree. I'm not sure that's hyperbole to state that's one of my least favorite wrestling gimmicks that I've seen in my lifetime. I hate every segment he was in. I groan every time he shows up. He can't go in the ring anymore, so he benefits nobody. He takes up too much time with his feuds, and when they finally end, he manages to stay more prominent than the star he's helping to get bigger.
That is true.
He thinks he's helping the younger guys with this Jericho Vortex bullshit, but everyone who comes in his orbit is never better off and arguably worse off more often than not. I haven't enjoyed a single thing he's done this year, and he has to get this. He also loses points because he performed his theme at All In again. Why they allow this time and time again, I'll never understand. Everything sucked. Jericho.
Congratulations to him.
Yep.
So my choices were going to be him or Jey Uso, and just thinking back at how this show has gone for me, much like you have to pick Jericho because he's your winner in so many categories, I have to take Jey Uso because he won worst tag match for me. He won like worst promo or segment or whatever for me. He's winning worst character. I don't know. He's won a ton of stuff for me this year. So the fact that he got a worse match, and that's a kind of a clincher for me. Like, he's just omnipresent on Raw and on PLEs, and I don't enjoy any of it at all. In fact, I'm annoyed by it. He's not delivering in ring. And they're telling me he's a main event guy and he's going to be literally a singles champion.
Like, the most lazy and try-hard nickname is to nickname him main event. It's like, hey, he's the main event.
So where Jericho's just an ROH champion, this guy's going to beat Gunther and be the champion.
Yeah, that'll be my consideration for this year.
And
no doubt.
That's tough. So he is my worst wrestler of 2024. And I think that wraps us up, yeah?
I believe so.
Well, thanks for joining us and waiting and being patient. Sorry it took so long. I think we got it out in February last year, March this year. So we'll try and get better next year. We also just did our review of AEW Revolution that's up. You can go and check that. Episode 242 is up. We'll be back down here on Saturday to do episode 243 to talk about the week of wrestling that was. Until then, everybody, thanks for joining us. See you Saturday. Take care.